My roommate charged me $20 every time I used the kitchen after 7 p.m. I lived there for 8 months, paying these ridiculous fines like some kind of tenant tax. She had this whole system set up. Typed invoices she'd slide under my bedroom door, Venmo requests with timestamps accurate to the minute, even photos of me standing at the stove as evidence of violations. The documentation was insane. She'd screenshot everything, keep spreadsheets, treat our apartment like she was running a business and I was her problem employee. Meanwhile, she'd make elaborate 4-course meals at midnight, pans clanging, leaving every dish dirty in the sink for 3 days straight. When I pointed out the double standard, she'd get this condescending look and explain that the rule existed because of my behavior, not hers. She didn't make messes like I did apparently, even though I'd wash my single plate immediately and she'd leave crusty lasagna pans soaking for a week. She controlled everything. The thermostat had a locked plastic cover that only she had the key for. She kept it at 64 degrees all winter, and I slept in hoodies and 2 blankets. She declared the living room off limits during her study hours, which were conveniently scheduled whenever I wanted to use the TV, but she'd throw parties with 15 people on random Wednesdays, music blasting until 2 a.m., telling me I was being unsupportive of her social needs if I complained. I had to submit guest requests 24 hours in advance through email with the person's full name and estimated departure time. Her boyfriend Marcus practically lived there rent-free, eating my food, using my shampoo, his stuff everywhere. When I mentioned it, she said he wasn't a guest, he was her partner. Completely different category apparently. The bathroom situation was worse. I couldn't shower after 9 p.m. because the water pipes disturbed her sleep, but she'd blast her morning podcast at 6 a.m. while doing her full skincare routine, the sound echoing through our thin walls. I worked late shifts and got home at 10 p.m. most nights, so I'd either skip showers or face another fine for violating quiet hours. She fined me for everything. $15 for leaving shoes by the door instead of in the closet, $25 for having my sister visit without the full 24-hour notice because it was a family emergency, $10 for adjusting the thermostat without permission when it was 58 degrees inside. Every week there'd be a new Venmo request waiting, and every week I'd pay it because I couldn't afford to break the lease. The penalty was $3,000, and I was barely making rent as it was. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I got home from a double shift, exhausted, and left a coffee cup in the sink. Just 1 cup. I was planning to wash it in the morning. I woke up to an invoice slid under my door, $50 for extended dish abandonment and creating unsanitary conditions. That was it. I'd had enough. I pulled up my bank statements and calculated every single fine over 8 months. $1,847 total. Almost 2 months of rent gone, paid to my roommate for made-up violations of rules that only applied to me. I screenshot every Venmo transaction, every invoice she'd given me, every text message where she'd threatened additional fines if I didn't comply. Then I sent her a Venmo request for $1,847 with the note, refund for illegal roommate fees per state tenant law section 47.8b, due immediately. She opened it within minutes. Then she blocked me on Venmo, blocked my number, and sent one text from a different number. You're insane. I filed in small claims court the next morning. Cost me $45. I brought printed copies of every transaction, every rule she'd ever sent, every invoice with her signature. I brought photos of the locked thermostat, screenshots of her boyfriend's stuff in our apartment, evidence of her using the kitchen at midnight while fining me for cooking at 8 p.m. The hearing was 3 weeks later. She showed up in a business suit with a folder of her own, probably thinking she'd convince the judge her system was reasonable. She tried explaining that shared living required structure, that her rules maintained order, that I was difficult to live with. The judge let her talk for about 2 minutes before cutting her off. He looked at her invoices, looked at her, and asked if she understood that roommates cannot charge each other penalties under state law. She stammered something about mutual agreements. He asked if I'd ever signed anything agreeing to fines. Silence. The judge awarded me double damages plus court costs, $4,200 total. She went pale, her folder sliding off her lap onto the floor. She had 30 days to pay or face wage garnishment directly from her paycheck. 2 weeks later, I got a cashier's check in the mail. Her text said simply, "This is harassment." I replied, "No, this is what happens when you treat roommates like employees you can fine."